Hello, Blaze. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well.
You do well. Okay, cool. Surviving the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky
Yeah?
that I have a house, a small house, but I feel so bad for people who live in small apartments and
Yeah.
small flats that have no garden. I have a very modest, small house, and I'm very lucky, I can sit outside and we've been able to record here. I've got a very small home studio set up, so I was able to record the War Within Me album here, even through the lockdown, without breaking any of the rules. So I'm very, very lucky. And I've had support from my fans around the world that have helped me and, encouraged me and bought things off my web shop to keep me going. So I'm very, very lucky and I've survived, and it's been the same challenges that everybody has. I'm just very lucky that I've had so much wonderful support.
Cool. For the people, most people will know you, of course, in my channel because it's mostly traditional metal. But I want to introduce you a little bit to our viewers. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, well,
Well,
most people don't know me, I think.
but probably the people who watch my channel will know you. I'm sure about that. If not, they lose some points for me. Uh, anyway, you're Blaze Bayley, the English singer and songwriter for your own band and Wolfsbane, and also for being an Iron Maiden singer from 1994 till 1999. That's what so far as I can tell. But
Mhm.
please introduce yourself to our viewers. Maybe you could introduce yourself.
Um, well, I don't know what else I would say.
Yeah.
I'm a singer, and I'm very lucky that my dream of being a singer and touring with a band, playing rock and metal, I started when I started on that journey when I was 19 years of age, and my dream came true. And every day I'm living my dream. I am a singer in a band, and I do go to lots of different countries and perform. I love to sing, and I managed to make my living as a singer. So I'm incredibly lucky that I'm living my dream. Success for me is being able to live doing something that you enjoy and that you're good at. And I've been very lucky that I've been able to do that.
Yeah. I I would yeah, I can say uh, I have a little bit ego. I never was a good singer, but I thought also I couldn't do anything, but I also did something I really like now. So I can understand your feeling very well. So, uh, but about back to the early days. When at what age did you decide to start singing?
Well, that's a challenging question, really, because there's kind of two parts to it. When I was at school
Yeah.
at 15, 16, then the Sex Pistols came out,
Oh.
and there was a band at school who used to impersonate the Sex Pistols. I mean,
Yeah.
this obviously 6 years ago. And when I looked at that singer, I thought, really think I could do a better job than that singer. And anyway, I left school and I, I got more seriously into music and rock and metal. And then I saw Ronnie James Dio at a concert on a Holy Diver tour in Birmingham. And that's what really inspired me. And I thought, yeah, I'd like to be able to sing with that kind of power and control and travel being a singer and being in a band. And that's when I really decided I wanted to actually be a full-time singer. And I that was it. From then I started writing my own songs and, you know, messing about on the piano. I didn't have any training on it or anything. I'm not a naturally talented singer. I love to sing, but it's not something I'm just good at. I've had to learn to sing. It's a talent I've developed. It's not something that I could say, oh yeah, just that guy's a great singer. It's like, no, I learned to sing. I love to sing. I'm not that good. I learned to sing, and experience and technique has taken me the rest of the way. I had a lot of lessons and so a lot of different vocal coaches along the way, and just found my technique. And I've been lucky to work with a lot of different people. But I think that was it. About 1920, I saw that concert, Ronnie James Dio, Holy Diver tour, and that's what really turned things for me and made me want to be a full-time singer. Some people decide a lot earlier in life what they want to be, but for me, I wasn't really sure. I loved music, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. But when I saw that concert, then I knew.
Cool. So now actually you already answered my next question, because my next question was at what bands and artists influenced you. Well, you told me Ronnie James Dio was very important for you. Uh, is there more? Were there more artists who were very important for
Well,
you?
as a singer,
Mhm,
then the voices that
mhm,
really influenced me and the styles. One is Bon Scott, the late Bon Scott, because in his recordings with AC/DC,
Yeah.
it's more of a conversation than a song. And of course, he's singing, he's vocalizing, but the way that it comes over, he's telling you a story and talking to you. And I love the detail and emotion of this closeness that Bon Scott was able to give. He's
Mhm.
actually telling you about when he went out that night. He's telling you about one of his adventures and did. So he was a big influence. Then David Coverdale, at that time, the passion and the drama he's able to get into his voice in his early Whitesnake recordings is just fantastic. You know, all those old analog recordings with Mickey Moody, it's just absolutely mind blowing. Whenever I put them on, I'm still in awe. You know, and it takes me back to this wonderful place. So that's another vocal influence. I didn't want to sound like those people, but I wanted to do what they could do. So I didn't want to sound exactly like Bon Scott, but I wanted to be able to use my voice to tell a story in that way. I didn't want to sound exactly like David Coverdale, but I wanted to find the emotion and the drama in my voice to communicate an idea like that. And of course, Dave Lee Roth from Van Halen, on those early Van Halen recordings, his style, um, his exuberance was just incredible, mind blowing. Him and Eddie Van Halen, those two, it was just mind blowing. And I think that's an influence as well, that you could let go. Not every part of a song has to be a sung definite part. It can be a vocalization, other ways to use your voice. And then I suppose later on, Eric Adams from Manowar, his control and power and his falsetto, his high register, his controlled scream, the notes he could get reliably and do it live. A hero of metal vocalization, an absolute hero, and his voice he's managed to keep in great shape over the years. So they're people that influenced me. What I can say is I was heavily influenced by people. I didn't want to sound the same. I wanted to take, right, what does that person do? How can I find out how I can do that? Not how I could do that note, but how could I bring that into my toolbox and vocabulary? So in the early Wolfsbane, there's a lot of screams and high notes and things, very under control. I had great control of that scream in those days. Woo, 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 all of this, it's a lot of fun. And it's, I mean, I can't get those notes now. I'm gradually practicing to try and get that part of my voice back, because it's not something I use all of the time. But with Wolfsbane, it's a lot of fun to do that. So I think Bruce Dickinson, an incredible talent, a giant, him and Rob Halford, the two archangels of metal singing. When you say, right, what is a heavy metal singer? You can go Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson, and it's like Godzilla, King of Monsters, facing off. You will argue all day about who is the ultimate. They're both absolutely wonderful and fantastic for me, in their own way. I would always favour Bruce over Rob, because he has a lot more texture and soul in his voice in different areas for me. That's not a criticism of Rob Halford. Yeah, and of course, Bruce, the immense power that Bruce had, and the amazing songs. I mean, part of being a singer, it's not just the vocalization, but a singer of songs. So Bruce made these wonderful songs really come to life. Those older Maiden recorded, 40 years ago, 35 years ago. Those Bruce made these things come to life and made them his own and filled them with passion. And it's a wonderful, wonderful time to go back to and listen to that. And the strong character parts of Bruce Dickinson's voice are just as strong today as they were back then.
Yeah, what you're saying, Bruce and Rob Halford, it's also always a competition, Priest or Maiden. It's for many people who you like most, and then I always can say I can't make a choice between those two bands.
Yeah.
It's so hard. About the influences, music as bands and artists, but but lyrically, what influenced you lyrically?
Well, I think, and it probably sounds weird, but Bruce Springsteen is an artist I really admire. And so once I was over the initial part of, total cliche heavy metal, once I was past that lyric of I was chasing a dragon with a stick type of lyric, which, we all come up with at our first attempts of songwriting, then I became interested in truth and how to make truth into a lyric and how to make a lyric feel personal to the listener, even if it was personal to me. So Bruce Springsteen lyrically has been an influence. I've always enjoyed Shakespeare. So the plays of William Shakespeare, Macbeth and Henry IV and Richard III and these things, and King Lear, all the darkness of these things, and some of the phrases in Shakespeare I often put and steal and put into my own lyric. It's a search for truth, really, and most of my songs are based around a true character in life that I know, or someone historic that has affected me, or historically has affected our Western culture, or from my own personal experience, things that affected me personally in relationships, my mental health problems, up and down, the failed romance, my problems with alcohol. These are all things that I've used as lyrics and to express myself, but always to try and do it from a place of truth, even though that truth may seem a bit fantastic, or it may seem that it comes from an unusual place, but I always trying to have that edge of, well, there's something true in this for me. So that's what I try and do, and I've been very lucky to work with incredible people over the years, that I've had help from with, oh, well, why don't you try it like this, and different producers, top producers in the world of music that I've been able to learn from. And I've been very lucky in that way. So I feel on my new album, War Within Me, what we said at the start was, well, I said to Chris, right, we know all the rules, we're allowed to break them. So it meant there's often this compromise between the lyric, the melody, and the music. Right, you have this lyric that you absolutely want to use these words, doesn't quite fit in that melody or that timing. So you've got to make a choice. Do you compromise the lyric and make it less effective, perhaps, to fit it into this verse melody? Or do you say, you know what? This lyric is so important that this verse melody has to change to accommodate it, even though it will be different to the previous verse. And that's what we did on War Within. We just allowed ourselves this latitude, going, right, we know what it should be if we're going by the numbers, but what do we want it to be? And if this lyric is so strong, all right, we'll compromise something else. And that's what we did. Most of the songs follow our normal thing of, right, you find the lyric and you fit the melody, or you find the melody, then you find the lyric to fit. But sometimes it was, I want this lyric, and it doesn't quite fit. Well, we're going to change it to make this fit because this is so important. And that's it, really. I think lyrics are a personal thing. I've always tried, no matter how simple that lyric seems, I've always tried to do my absolute best to make it make sense, be good English, and be truthful. So if anybody comes to me, and this has happened to me, and they slagged off my lyrics, I've been able to say, honestly, I've been able to say, well, that's how I wanted it. It's not that I couldn't come up with something different or more elaborate or more interesting to you. I like it hot, and I wanted a nice, simple lyric. I like it hot. Turn up the heat. I want to feel the sweat drip from me. That's a true thing. And then someone on the radio said, oh, this lyric is so dumb and stupid. I'm going, yeah. It's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
So, and I've got other songs which feature scientists. I managed to rhyme Higgs boson is one of my song lyrics. The rhyming Higgs. So I do it from the point of what do I want? What's the feeling that I want? What are the words? It can be simple or complex. It can be lots of syllables. It can be a simple melody. How do I want it? What's the job that this melody and lyric has to do together? And that's it. So however simple the lyric is, or however complicated, it's what I wanted, and I spent hours on it. And a few fans come to me and say, I love your lyrics. And other people, obviously not my fans, go, I think your lyrics are dumb and stupid. But, because they don't really understand that it comes from a place of poetry and truth. And some of my lyrics connect really deeply with my fans. And they said, "Oh, this has helped me through a difficult situation, and I relied on this song when I had this terrible tragedy in my life." For me, it's like,
That's great.
wow,
Yeah, that's
that's
cool.
so humbling. They
Yeah, that's
could have
cool.
found any music, but they just by something they found mine, and the fact that something I did
Mhm.
with my heart and my passion help someone in the smallest way is an
Yes.
incredible feeling.
I yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, but you about the new album, I have this question for later in the list, of course. But we continue now because we are talking about already about it. So you recently released a new album in 2021, War Within. Uh, you already talked a little bit about it, but I was very curious. Is what was the feedback from the press and the fans so far already? Is it received well
That's very
already?
surprising. Especially from the press, it's very surprising because a lot of people that never bothered to talk to me
Yeah.
and never returned emails about interviews gave it gave War Within Me a really good review and
Okay.
wanted to do interviews about it. Oh, okay.
Okay.
My fans, that's a slightly different thing because I'm actually making War Within Me for my fans. And Chris Appleton and I
Yeah.
always have a conversation. This is how it's developed. When we're starting a project, we look at what we've done, look at what I've done, and we go, well, what do we want overall when this is complete? How would we like it to feel?
Yeah.
And in this case, it was this has to be a positive, uplifting record. We have to give my fans that have been waiting 2 years for a new studio album, when they get it, they have to feel good. It has to go into the heart. It has to make them feel better. And so, as we were writing lyrically, melodically, with the chords, the riffs, the arpeggios, the real chuggy bits, the power chords, everything went under the microscope. Is this the best solution that we can find for this journey to make you feel good at the end, to take you through the darkness and bring you out feeling good at the end? And that's what we did with every song all the time. Like, does that chord really fit? Is there a better one that will make us feel slightly different there? And we did that all the way through, all of the time. There in my mind were fans that I knew on first name terms, the people that supported me. I'm just thinking, when they get this, I really want them to like it. When they get the Blaze Bayley album, I want them to go, Oh, what a relief. It's the Blaze Bayley album, and it's exactly what I wanted. That was what I was trying to do. So no one outside the team could hear anything. And it wasn't until the first fans heard the album that, you know, I had this huge sense of relief, because fans always seem to tell the truth, and people say I like it, or yeah, it's good, and some people say actually I think this is as good as Silica Messiah, my first solo album, which is a massive production. So it's been a huge relief. Most of my hardcore fans like War Within Me or love it, and most of my new fans really like War Within Me album. So it's an incredible sense of relief. And then after that, pure joy that the job we set out to do, we actually did in challenging circumstances.
Yeah, I still wait for my. You still have to wait for my review. It will be online soon, so stay tuned. Surprise. But I also want to ask you about this connection you have with Absolva. That's why I wear the T-shirt for. It seems you have a really strong connection to these guys, and how did it contact came up? You know, this contact between you and the Absolva guys. How did it started actually?
Well, it was years ago when I
Mm.
was doing my Man Who Would Not Die album, my Man Who Would Not Die tour, and we were on, I forget where we were now, on a festival or something together, and they said, you know, if there's ever a chance to support you, we'd really value that opportunity.
Yeah.
And it came up, and I said, well, I've got a UK tour coming up, and, you know, why don't we try it, you know, come on it with us? And they were great as part of the team and really
Mm.
fitted in well, worked really hard, always on time, and always played their heart out, you know, to nobody sometimes.
Yeah.
And then years later, things hadn't gone well for me. I was at a very low point in my career,
Yeah.
and I was just doing odd things with tribute bands and special guests, and then a bit of my classical with Thomas Fyson, just him and me going out. And Chris Appleton said to me after one of those shows, which he had actually promoted in Manchester, he
Mm.
said, if you ever want to try again full metal, I really believe we could do something. And I'm fully prepared to be back in band and we'll learn the songs. And I really believe that we can do something. And, well, I thought, oh, you know, because I really thought my career in heavy metal as a credible performer and songwriter was almost over. And so we tried it. And I had the Silicon Messiah anniversary tour come up. Now, when I was on SPV Steamhammer
Yeah.
and I had some big management, that album came out and not one single gig was booked to
Yeah.
go with that album. No tour, nothing. Years later, Chris Appleton himself booked 35 shows across Europe. Okay, mostly small, but I don't care. And we played the whole album, start to finish, all over Europe, and it went absolutely fantastic, really brilliant. And that was the start, really. That anniversary tour, Silicon Messiah tour, everybody worked so hard to get that. Before that, we had the Soundtracks of My Life tour, which was a few shows. But when he did that Silicon Messiah tour, we knew it was, yeah, this can really mean something. And that was it. And we tried writing. I had the opportunity to start writing a new metal album. And I said, you know, how do you feel about trying to write a few songs and maybe record together? And we did. And that was Infinite Entanglement. And that worked out very well. And so we kept we felt it was a winning formula. So we kept it, you know, and gradually we've learned and refined it. And now we work very closely together. And I think if you listen to War Within Me, then you can hear that's the style of me and Chris Appleton working together. It's not always smooth, I can tell you that, you know, because I'm an absolute arsehole to work with. I get so focused and single-minded, and Chris has to be incredibly patient a lot of the time, you know, and yeah, we've managed to get through that. And we kind of know, we sit down, we have a shorthand of, we know what we feel is good and the areas we want to go. One of the things that we do, if we don't feel something for a new idea in, you know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of messing around, we leave it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the good things we do. It can come back, but it has to come back months later or a year later, so we're fresh with it. And it's worked well.
Cool, because that's what I also noticed. You write many songs together with Chris, right? With Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On War Within Me, so all of them are Chris and me.
Yeah, and
And the
he's the
other
lead.
thing that you have to know is Chris is a hugely talented person as a guitarist, a singer in his own right. He's a lead singer. Also, he is a fully qualified sound engineer, and he's also wonderful in the studio as a studio engineer. So we've shared the production, and the way that we share that production means that the artistic interpretation and value stays in the song until the final mix. Nothing's handed over. All the time, as the song starts coming together, the mix, what you want to hear in the mix starts coming together. The production starts coming together, and the early when it gets here, we could do this. I think it should do that, and it's polish and polish and polish. So he's an incredibly talented guy. He's very humble, but he's incredibly talented and a wonderful producer in his own right.
Yeah, because he's the singer and lead singer and guitarist for the band Absolva, but the whole band is your backing band on tour, right?
Well, I've been very lucky with that because I've worked on my Iron Maiden anniversary show, which is a 25-year anniversary of me joining Iron Maiden. And a couple of festival promoters really wanted to have this set list, and it's a lot of fun to get out the old songs and do it. My versions are slightly different. They're more, they suit me. I play things and we just fiddle a little bit with the arrangements. They're my versions of those songs. But of course, for me, they're wonderful songs. The heart of the song is completely intact. And Luke was available, and I said, well, how about coming and being second guitarist, you know, being the part two, so you and Chris are actually the two things. We get the harmony guitars and the riffs and the big power chords, and it just worked fantastic. We were doing Sweden Rock. I think it was about 20,000 people at Sweden Rock that we played to, and it was just immense, man. It was huge. He's such a professional person, very talented musician. So he became available, and my manager said, well, Luke's become available. What do you think about the idea of making Luke part of the Blaze Bayley touring band? I said, well, yeah, immediately. Because we write the album with 2 or 3 guitar parts, and then we arrange it for 1 guitar. So I thought this is going to be fantastic. All the second guitar, the big power chords that we have, Luke can come in and do this. He's not a rhythm guitarist. He's the power guitarist, because that's what he adds. He gives us these big power chords. He gives us where we have the riff going on the album. Now that's going live, and it gives Chris Appleton so much freedom to concentrate and focus on these wonderful instrumental parts that we've come up with. It's incredible, man. So I was just very, very lucky. He was available at the right time. Yeah, thank you. I'll have him.
Great. Yeah, I have more questions about these guys, because I noticed already that's really you guys are really connected. But first I want to skip back to the Iron Maiden years, because you already talked a little bit about it. After your career, how do you look back on your career with Iron Maiden, and what were the highlights for you as a singer in this legendary band?
Well, it's a wonderful time for me in my life, and it's something that I absolutely treasure. I learned so much. I found another part of my voice, about a third of my voice that I didn't even know was there. Working with Steve Harris as a producer and a songwriter, he would go, try singing it here. I'll be, whoa, and gradually, and there you've got Lord of the Flies coming to life, and you've got Sign of the Cross and coming to life. And the greatest one for me in my time with Iron Maiden is actually Como Estas Amigos, that and Future Real. These, for me personally, working with Steve Harris and Yannick Gers, and the way that Steve produced those songs and the musical input and helped me with the melodies and the lyrics and everything, it's, for me, they're huge. And I enjoy doing Klansman and Sign of the Cross and Man on the Edge and all those other ones. But when I have the opportunity to do Como Estas Amigos, it's something very, very special for me. What I learned, and the whole thing of it is incredible. So before joining Iron Maiden, I knew, because I was an Iron Maiden fan, that every hardcore Iron Maiden fan knows all the ex-members of Iron Maiden. So you're always going to be known by some people, only a few, as an ex-member of Iron Maiden. And for me, that's really cool, because I am heavy metal. I love all kinds of music, but if you cut me, I bleed metal. That's it. So for me, it's been a wonderful thing. I think other people maybe that were in Iron Maiden and have left or whatever, then for them maybe it hasn't been such a good thing. Maybe they didn't expect it or appreciate it. For me, being a former member of what I consider to be the greatest heavy metal band ever in the history of the world is a great thing that I'm really, really proud of. but it's a wonderful thing. It's a big thing. But in my career, it's this small part. It's 5 years. It's 2 albums. I've made 11 studio albums, DVDs, live out since Iron Maiden. I've made albums with Wolfsbane as well, since before and after Iron Maiden. And so it's a small part. It's a wonderful part, and it's something I'm very proud of. And without that involvement and what I learned and lived being with those guys, the war within me would not sound the way it does, and I would not have been able to achieve that level if I hadn't been with Iron Maiden for that time.
Yes, and you're correct, and that's also with the things you did after and before Iron Maiden, like Wolfsbane, for example. A lot of people know Wolfsbane or know you now because of your career with Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Because people discovered you with Iron Maiden, and after you left Iron Maiden, or they gonna look, what did this guy did before, or what did this guy do now, or whatever. So I think it helped you with your personal career as well, that you were part of Iron Maiden.
In one way, of course, it does, because when a lot of people recognize the name Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Sadly, a lot of fans hated me when I joined, and they still do, and that's fine by me. That's absolutely fine. I don't mind that at all. What's the most interesting thing for me is when new fans, bearing in mind my album's way back now, new fans get into Iron Maiden and they'll listen to something from the X Factor or Virtual 11, and fans have said this to me. Well, Bruce sounds really different on those 2 albums.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah, and then they find out that it's not Bruce, and then they go down the Blaze Bayley rabbit hole and find out all of these things about me. That's only a few people, but they've said it to me. I think it's really, really fun. And to be honest, I support the guys in everything they do. I want them to do well. There has to be an Iron Maiden on planet Earth. We need it, man.
But you say about that some fans hate the period with you as a singer, but I think real diehard Iron Maiden fans like everything from the band. There are also many really diehard Iron Maiden freaks who likes the music with you as much as they do with Paul or with Bruce. Real Iron Maiden freaks love everything from the band they ever did. I think that's really a fact. But of course, there are people who always have their favorite singer, and of course, it's extremely difficult to replace a singer like Bruce Dickinson. It's really that you.
Yeah. Well, what happens to me, and this, of course, this is a smaller percentage of people, is they come up and say, "You are my first Iron Maiden singer, so you'll always be the one in my heart," which is incredible. It's just a few thousand people around the world, but they're there, and because I was their first Iron Maiden singer. Like, for some people it was Paul, for some people it was Bruce, but for some people, just a few, I was their first Iron Maiden singer. So for that, I have a special place in their heart, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
I have the same. I saw Iron Maiden in 1988. I didn't saw them in the inside of the venue because I was too young to see them. But of course, I discovered Iron Maiden with Bruce for me. But the first time I saw you really live, when I saw Iron Maiden really live in a festival and concert, it was also with you, because I'm born in '78, so was a teenager in the 90s. So, yeah, I saw all those shows you played at the late 80s, late 90s, early 2000s, because that was my time too. So I discovered you very well. But about this career, skipping the going from Iron Maiden back to the very early days, before before around the same time, you also started Wolfsbane in the late 80s, right? Late 80s. And you worked also as a night hotel porter, right?
Yeah.
In the time you were playing in Wolfsbane. How do you look back on those days in the late 80s when you? I remember I discovered you on Headbangers Ball with a video clip Manhunt. That was
Yeah.
yeah. How do you look back on those time of the late 80s, early 90s with Wolfsbane?
Well, great times, but I was a young man. I
Yeah,
was a young man finding my way. I didn't start Wolfsbane. Jace Edwards and Jeff Haitley were at school together,
yeah,
and they started Wolfsbane when they were at school. They started their own band and then later called it Wolfsbane when I joined. So I didn't start it at all. It's Jace and Jeff that are the masterminds of Wolfsbane. And I saw an ad in the Tamworth Herald paper, which is a weekly community newspaper, on the music page. Heavy metal singer required, no experience necessary. That described me perfectly. And I went for the audition, and I think maybe I was probably the only guy that went for an audition. There's no microphone, no equipment, just tiny little amps like this, sitting on top of the cupboard to make them sound louder. And, you know, that's it. They chose me, and we said, right, let's write 10 songs because then we could do a gig. And we
okay,
were just interested in getting out and playing live, and that was it. So, a long journey. I mean, over 35 years that we've known each other. Going back, we've been through thick and thin. I've left, I've come back. Now, the reunion of Wolfsbane is longer than we were together before Iron Maiden. We've been together
yeah.
longer after Iron Maiden. So it's incredible. And we've done, I think, 3 records. We're working on a new record now.
Oh,
It's so exciting. It's unbelievable. The sound of it. It's just magnificent, man. If you're a Wolfsbane fan, you will love it. I'm absolutely sure when that new album comes out next year. If people who like Wolfsbane will absolutely love the album, people who don't like Wolfsbane will still hate us. You know, that's guaranteed. So
yeah.
yeah, I look back with very, very fond memories of some of the things, and my hotel job. It was on your feet all day. I worked a lot of hours, but I was a young man. So it was, something that I look back on with very fond memories. Those times and the energy we had. If the old me could go back and tell the young me starting out, give him any advice, then I would just say, try not to be so serious. So I was so ambitious and so serious about making it and trying to be a professional singer and all of that, that I think sometimes you're so focused, you forget to enjoy where you are. And that's true of a lot of people, ambitious people. And now I live a different way. Now I try and enjoy every moment and really appreciate where I am and the wonderful life of being able to live my dream. But of course, back then, when I was in my early 20s, I was so arrogant and focused and single-minded. If an old bloke looking like me came up and tried to give the young me some advice, I would just say, fuck off, old man.
And after your now I skip back from question to question. After your career with Iron Maiden, you started a solo career by the band name Blaze. I guess this was a very good choice because you released several great records and toured all around the world. What were the highlights from this period?
I don't know, really, mate. It's a blur. It was a big mistake to call the band Blaze. A huge mistake, yeah. I didn't know it. I didn't realise it at the time. The manager I had worked for a big management company. It was absolutely awful. They hadn't got a clue. And it was a big mistake to call the band Blaze because nobody recognised me. Nobody knew it was me. It was very arrogant of me to think that. My name is Blaze Bayley. When Ozzy Osbourne left Black Sabbath, he was Ozzy Osbourne. But I radically changed. He didn't just become Ozzy, he was still Ozzy Osbourne. I became Blaze, and lots of people just didn't know about me because Blaze was also a PlayStation controller, a hockey team, a gospel song. I never even thought about that. I was so stupid at the time. So those albums just got lost, man. They just failed dismally. And the management I had at the time, who I was right back then, they just failed. So Silicon Messiah failed. 10th Dimension commercially. From a point of view of what I achieved musically, they're a complete success. But a total commercial failure. Blood and Belief failed. I didn't make a penny with those albums at the time. I had all I did was I had a few live gigs. I managed to keep going off that, and a lot of charity from fans who helped out, and all of this. I didn't get anywhere, and at the end of that, I had to fire the band because I just could not afford to have a band and start again from nothing. So that's it. I tried my heart out. I gave it everything. I failed. I was not a commercial success. I lost everything trying to make a go of that band from Blaze and Blaze Bayley. No, that was it. I really thought when I did Man Who Would Not Die, I thought things were going to change. Musically, it was just fantastic. And so is Promise and Terror. Musically, and the attitude, the vibe on it, and some of the lyrics, just absolutely fantastic. No, failed, didn't do anything. And now, with this incredible small team that I have, I managed to get all my albums back from the license. So I own my catalogue now from Silicon Messiah all the way through, everything except for Alive in Poland. And I own all that. That's my catalogue. And now that catalogue sells a little bit. I'm able to sell my own album. I am the record company. And I'm the #1 priority on my own label.
Yeah, of course.
And with the small team that I have, the great work that Chris Appleton does with me on the production side and the songwriting, my wonderful manager that helps me achieve the ideas musically that I want and keeps me going with my tours and my shop. Now I'm a success. Now I live a very modest life, but the priorities are, well, can I make the kind of quality records that I want to make? Yes. Can I do the kind of shows that I want to do? Yes. So I'm very lucky now, but those are dark days, man.
A really career with ups and downs, as it seems.
Down, up, and down again.
Yes. But again, about these Absolva guys, because I have several questions about those guys, because you cannot skip the guys out of the music from Blaze Bayley these days. Do you write only songs with Chris? Or are there also other musicians involved?
I just on this album, it's just been with Chris.
Okay.
On the G, it was with different songwriters, friends. So that's how it works. It's not so important where the idea comes from. What's
Yeah.
important is that it's a great idea.
Cool. And it seems, are you also connected to the SOS Festival in Manchester? That's organized. No,
I'm nothing to do with that.
Okay, but that's
I
organized by
know
the label Rock Sector Records, right?
I just know those people. I'm nothing to do with the
I
organisation
thought.
of it.
Okay.
I can tell you this: if I was, it would be a total disaster, and probably that part, everything would disappear into a black hole. Then there'd be a nuclear weapons attack. Then bioweapons. Then there would be a complete disaster for the entire UK. So I think it's best that I'm not involved with the SOS Festival at all. I have performed there and it's been great. I'm nothing to do with the organisation.
Okay.
If I was, it would be a disaster.
And it would be like a down again in your up period.
Well, it would be for them, really.
Okay.
Because I'd imagine we'd be attacked by China and Russia. And possibly Iran would attack Whitefield, where the festival was held. So, yeah, it would be very dangerous for me to be involved. I could perform at it. If I was involved in that festival, I more or less guarantee a nuclear attack from a foreign power.
Very cool. And you did also many guest and session work for many bands and artists over the years. Acts like Cage, Operation Mindcrime, but also Doro and many others. What drives you to help so many artists and bands out? Is it your dedication?
I'm not really helping them. I'm not helping them.
Is it your dedication for music?
Famous.
Is it your dedication?
I'm not that famous that I'm helping those artists. You know, it's
but the people ask you.
It's often a thing where if there's something, you know what? Oh, Blaze, you sound good on this. And it was great to collaborate with Jeff from Operation Mindcrime.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. Wonderful person, wonderful singer, huge talent. Great to do that with him and Tim Owens as well. Just wonderful. I always enjoy my collaborations. I do guest vocals for a lot of different bands. People say, we'd love you to be on our album. And that's it, you know. So I'm very lucky and I really enjoy doing those different things. I'm lucky that I have the chance to do so many different things and be so committed and spend so much time on my own music.
Cool. Because you're now back to your new album again. You released a new album in the COVID-19 times. What else did you during this pandemic? Is there something else except writing music? Did you do something else during the pandemic?
Well, you must have had a different pandemic because we were locked down here and you couldn't go out. So it must have been a bit different there for you. We were always going to record our album in 2020 and we had lovely festivals and a little bit of touring booked around the recording and writing, and those got cancelled. So we just had more time to spend on the album, as well as that quarantine regulations. So we could spend 15 days together and then we had to spend 15 days apart. And then we could spend another 15 days together. So we just kept going like that. You know, that's enough, man.
So actually,
the details of the album, if you're serious about it, an album it don't happen by accident. It's hours and hours and hours of work, and it's details and details. When you make an album, it's not like live. It's there, it's gone. An album, you're going under the microscope. somebody's going to put that in their car and leave it there and listen every day they drive to work, or they're going to leave it in their stereo, or it's going to be their go-to thing when they're working out. So that album, the way that we write and our values, that has to be worth listening to again and again and again. And you have to become more involved and in love with that record the more you listen to it. For me, there's plenty of albums that sound great the first time I listen to them, and then the more I listen to them, the more bored I get. They're classic albums, which is what we aspire to make. The great albums that last forever, which is what we try to make. Those albums become better and more beautiful and have a deeper meaning the more times you listen. And that's what we try to do, but that's not an accident. We're trying really hard on every single detail. So live is great. That's one meal at a restaurant. Recording is making a menu, growing the ingredients, messing about until you've got the right. Oh man, it's another thing. It's like going under the microscope, and then when you get to the mix, it's an electron microscope. And then you build back from there, and you're like, okay, does it make sense? Something's not right. Back in. Does it make sense? Yes, it does. Okay, it's done. So it's hours and hours of work, man. And you need time away. You've got to have time where you go, must not listen to it, so you can come back with a proper perspective. So it's a lot. So to do anything else, man, that's like putting 48 hours in a day.
And what you're saying about music that's going better or it's getting greater in your ears after a while, and music what's that the first time you hear is very cool, and after a while it's getting boring. It's something with commercial music like radio music. The first time it captures your mind the first time, but it's getting boring after a while. And like a lot of progressive stuff or like more difficult music, you have to learn to listen it, and after you listen more and more, you get appreciated more and more. That's actually, yeah, something what's like how you call that plastic stuff, that's like it's cool. It's nice when you hear it the first time, but after a while it's getting boring, and that's the opposites with more difficult music, I think.
I don't know. It's not really more difficult for me, because there's some pop music from the 70s that is still wonderful and never gets old. And it's not very complicated, but it's really good. And then there's other things which just are rubbish. And in the modern world, I think there is a thing where mixing and production and the sound can be a victim of fashion.
Yeah.
Right, we want it to sound modern. When I started listening to music, there was no rap. There was no hip hop. There was no middle of a pop song with 8 bars of rapping or getting a famous. None of that. That wasn't considered to be part of it. Then late 80s, you've got to have a rapper in your song. In the 90s, you've got to have someone coming in doing a rap, because that's what's expected of a pop song. It's got to have this. Then rock, it's got to have this particular sound of snare drum. It's got to have this particular, very compressed vocal sound, which when you first listen to it goes, oh, that's great. But it's literally like a shiny wrapping. So you can never really get to the meat because they've compressed it. And so those are the things for me. I listen to some, modern music and some crap music from the past, but modern music, and you go, sounds great first, like you say, great on the radio, and then as I get more into it, I get more bored by it.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Choice. That's a choice for that artist to do that, and for me, that's not a bad thing. That's just a choice. You want to do something this way. Your career is being played on the radio, a lot of YouTube hits and all of that. That's your career. That's fine. My music comes from a place of I'm living with someone with their headphones. I'm in their bedroom with the light out. I'm in the car. I'm on their stereo, and they're making time for me. I'm not just background. They're making time to listen. So it's a different way to write. It's a different expectation. Some people are expecting, perhaps they want to be really famous. They want to be recognized. They want to be known. I have been famous in heavy metal circles. I'm not now. People have to find out about Blaze Bayley to find out who I am. So I'm not in a pursuit of fame. It means nothing, really. It's just fun. It's a fun thing to be a bit famous and be recognised. But it's not important. It's certainly not as important as writing a song that has meaning and truth.
But not famous. I know my good friend Johnny Riga from Belgium. He just booked you for his festival as a headliner act at the Thunder Metal Fest in 2022. That's a headliner act, so you're the most important of that date. Are you excited to play Belgium again?
Well, yeah, I love to play in Belgium, and it's a place I've been able to go to on almost every single tour. I have friends in Belgium as well, and Belgian fans have really supported me. And they seem to get what I do as well.
And I also know there's a UK tour scheduled, but about the rest of the world is can the fans in Brazil and the US and Germany, whatever?
It's just not up to me. It's up to the government, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what they say.
No. But there's a lot of things planned, of course.
It's just up to the government, and when it's safe for fans, that's when we can go. We'll see what happens on the UK tour. You know, we just don't know what's going to happen. With testing and people getting into venues, these UK festivals that we're doing, we just don't know what's going to happen. We just hope for the best. Some fans say, I'm not going to come and see you on your main tour because the venue's too small. Other fans say, I've been double vaccinated. I'm not worried at all. So we just don't know what's going to happen. So we're working with promoters. We're going to be doing our very best to maintain our hygiene and stay COVID-free, and hopefully get through the tour playing every single show. So really, it's not good to think about the rest of the world, because we don't even know if we can get through the next few months in the UK, which is, been had a very strong vaccination program. So if we get through this, and in other countries are vaccinating and things are possible, what we hate in our team is we hate to book a show that gets cancelled. We just hate it, because We know what it's like. You book you buy your ticket, the show's gone. We'd rather say, look, let's wait when we can just about guarantee and say, we're going to turn up and do the gig. It's possible. We think this is going to happen. That's when we book the show.
Okay, clear. Yeah, I see a lot of festivals with great names and then canceling in the last minute, and people are very nervous.
I just don't want it. In our team, we're for the fans, and what's best for fans? What's best is you buy a ticket almost, you know, it's pretty sure that you're going to be able to go. You buy a Blaze Bayley ticket, it's pretty sure that I'm going to be there because I've been double jabbed, I'm careful, and we're aware of all the things. So, and we want it to be safe for fans.
Yeah. My last question is: you have made many albums in your solo career, and on which albums you are most proud of, and why?
Well, I think War Within Me.
Yeah.
It just has to be. It has everything on it. It's the details and what we set out to do as one album on its own of my solo career. I think War Within Me just stands up. It has everything. What we set out to do, we achieved. I listened to the sound. It sounds like my album, not like someone else's album. You put that next to the Sabaton album or the Maiden album and the Priest album, and it's a different sounding album, but it's still metal and it has passion and it draws on all the experience that I've had over the years with different bands. So in my solo career, I would say that's my greatest achievement. With Wolfsbane, we've just made so much great music. And I'm not saying that in an arrogant way, but music that we're very proud of. We've made music we're proud of, and everything we've done really is good. But all hell is breaking out at Little Kathy Wilson's place. That stands out as a moment in time. The songs that it has on it, the vibe it has, it just stands out. And then the song Manhunt is so stupid and dumb and fantastic and magnificent. You know, it's written so many years ago from a perspective of a hormonal teenager, you know, and a fantasy. But it's so much fun. We still do it in the set list today. It's fantastic. It's really, it's so cool to be able to do it. It's got stupid lyrics, I fully admit that, but it's so much fun. So, and the video for it is fun as well.
Yeah.
Going back, so Manhunt, the song, it's a moment. It's an incredible moment from the first Wolfsbane demo that we ever did on a 4-track in a cellar with a drug addict engineer. You know, from there to continuing to live and be alive in the set list 30 something years later, 35 years later. It's incredible, man. It's incredible. And it's so much fun to play live.
What else can I say? Well, first of all, I want to thank you very, very much for the interview. As a Iron Maiden fan, but also as a fan of heavy metal music, I am also very also loved your time with Maiden, but I also love your solo albums. I still will promise you a review of your new album. I will get, but I want to ask you for your final words for my viewers, and yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks to all of my fans for supporting me, encouraging me.
Yeah.
Thank you for visiting my shop and buying things from Blaze Bayley shop.
Yeah.
So just thanks for the support. I'm living my dream. I'm very grateful to have the support of so many people, and I'm very, very lucky. And I wish everybody the safest possible summer, and I really hope that I can get out there and perform my new songs live for everybody. Thank you, everyone, so much for supporting me and encouraging me through this very difficult time.
Well, thank you very much as well. We will meet at least at the Thunder Metal Fest, because I am helping Johnny with the with his agency. So I hope we can have a beer and we can meet each other there. So maybe, and I want to wish you all the best for everything, and I want to thank you again for the interview, and for the passion of the fashion, and thank you very much for your time, Mr. Blaze.
Okay, well, thank you. Good luck, Marco. Cheers.
Bye. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.